Hey guys, so Miss Markuson here. Figured I'd start us off our first lesson with a nice kind of live video because our first lesson is actually about ratios. So this is the start of our chapter 5. Ratios is our first topic. So the first thing, what is a ratio? So a ratio, simply defined, is just comparing two or more things. So the reason we're here in the kitchen is because everything to do with cooking and baking has to do with ratios. So we are in my kitchen today. So welcome to Miss Markuson's kitchen. All right, so today we are going to be making pancakes because Miss Markuson hasn't eaten breakfast yet. So I already pre-mixed up the pancake mix here, but let's talk about the first kind of ratio that we're encountering. So when you look on the back of a pancake mix box, they're going to tell you exactly what to put in it. So this is the type of mix where you need the mix, you need milk, you need oil, and eggs. So it's for today, to make sure I had enough ingredients, I actually used this middle set of ingredients, I guess. And actually all of these are examples of ratios. So our simplified ratio for this mix is 1 cup of mix, 2/3 cup of milk, 2 tablespoons of oil, and 1 egg. Now, as we kind of keep going up, they're actually just taking these ingredients and they're essentially just multiplying it by 2. We're just making, so instead of 1 batch, we're making a double batch. And then from there on up. So today I made this middle batch because I want to have enough ingredients. So I used 2 cups of mix, 1 and, it's hard to read backwards, 1/3 cups of milk, 1/4 of a cup of oil, and 2 eggs. All right, so I've already mixed that up for us. Go to each other. We have to follow this ratio because as you change a ratio, things could happen. You could get either thicker and fluffier pancakes, or you might get thinner, kind of runny pancakes, and nobody likes those. All right, so ratio today, Hungry Jack pancakes. But we're not going to be playing around with that ratio because I want these pancakes to taste good. So actually what we're going to be doing is we're going to be examining how changing the ratio of food dye can change the color of our pancakes. And if you've never dyed pancakes before, like, it's so much fun. I did it all the time as a kid. Now, what's kind of ironic about this is on the back of the box of the food dye, it says ratio, and they're kind of giving us some preset ratios to get certain colors. So perfect example of using math in the real world. Ratios, anything and everything cooking. So today we are actually going to be making purple pancakes because we're going to mix red and blue together and kind of see how the ratio of this much red and this much blue and what kind of purple that makes. So the first thing I want to talk about is, how do you write a ratio? What you'll notice here in this box is, if you look really close, there's actually a colon between the 2 parts or the 3 parts that they have. And so using a colon is one way to write a ratio. I've also written them out right here. Since we're making purple, we're going to be using 2 drops of red, 3 drops of blue. So you can write it using the word 2, and this would be read as 2 to 3. You can use it with the colon like they did on the box here, and that's still read 2 to 3. And then there's actually the fraction form of ratios, but we still read this 2 to 3. But Ms. Markuson, how do I know if it's fraction or a ratio? In a ratio, you're always going to have 2 different things. You're going to have your red and your blue, or your boys and your girls, or your mix and your milk, okay? Ratios have to have 2 things. In a fraction, like if I eat 2/3 of a pancake, that 2/3 is all about the pancake. I'm not comparing 2 different things. I'm comparing I ate 2 out of the 3 pieces, okay? But it's still all a pancake, all right? So these are the 3 ways that you can write a ratio. We'll be working more with that later on. Okay, so what we're going to do today is I have measured out 1/2 cup of pancake mix into each bowl. I don't want to spill it out, but I think it's kind of hard to see right now. And then I'm going to be adding 2 red to 3 blue. Now, I've got my food coloring here, and I've actually never used gel food coloring before. Normally it's the nice little drop stuff. But whenever I bought this last, they didn't have the drops. So I'm going to take a spoon, because I think this is the best way I could plan to do this, because since it doesn't drop out, we're going to try to get the same amount in each one. So I'm essentially going to take a spoon, and I'm going to try to get 2 kind of equally size drops of red on there. And then I'm going to do the same with the blue, but this time for blue, we're going to do 3 drops of blue. But trying to get it about the same as the red. So like I said, this might not be a perfect experiment just because it's not a very perfect measuring. But, so I've got my 2 drops red, 3 drops blue, and now I can just take it here to my first mixture here, and let's just mix it on in really good into our pancake mix. Okay, small change. Mixed up that first one, 2 drops red, 3 drops blue, and it was ugly. So we're making a small change to our ratio. Instead of 2 to 3, we are going to be doing 5 to 7. 5 red to 7 blue. And if I can do this real quick, I'll show you kind of what this first mixture looks like. Actually, you can see it here. Okay, so I'm still kind of mixing that food dye in, but what color would you say that is? Purple? Not quite. All right, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. All right, so now we're going to talk about why order matters in a ratio. So we started off kind of wrong, but in our first mixture, I did 5 red drops and 7 blue drops, okay? And I did it in that order because we said red to blue. All right, so 5 to 7, red to blue. 5 red drops, 7 blue drops. Now, I'm going to show you what happens if you take a ratio and you mix it around. So let's say instead of 5 red and 7 blue, I do 7 red and 5 blue. So I'm going to put those drops. I got a fresh spoon here. I'm going to do kind of the same way. I'm going to get those drops in here. I'm going to mix it in, and I'll show you the end result. All right, so I've got them mixed up now, and let's compare. Did we get the same color when we reversed the ratios? So you guys can kind of see, and I try to write those ratios for you. So this is the first one I mixed, and definitely blue. This is the second one I mixed, and definitely kind of getting more towards purple. So why is it important for us to put these ratios and make sure we do them in the correct order? Because if you don't, you're going to get different results. Now, when you're mixing things like colors, not a big deal. But what if when I was mixing up my pancakes, try to get this situated again. What if when I was mixing up my pancakes, what if I had reversed like the mix and the milk? Now, more mix, less milk, I'm going to get probably a decent pancake. Less mix, more milk, they're going to be runny. They're probably not even going to cook, all right? So it's very important that we make sure when we are doing a ratio, that we make sure we follow its order. So if they say red to blue, we need the first number is red, the second number is blue. Always. All right, for this next part, we're going to talk about equivalent ratios. So in our original mix, this is the first one I mixed up, I did 5 red drops to 7 blue drops. Now, I can also add in here, though, that I had half of a cup of mix, okay? So that was, for 1/2 cup of pancake mix, I added 5 red drops to 7 blue drops. Now, our next experiment is going to be, I want to see, okay, how much do I need to add to 1 whole cup of mix? How many drops of red and how many drops of blue should I add? And I want to keep the same color. Maybe I don't actually like this blue color, but we'll pretend I like this blue color. So if I'm, instead of doing 1/2 cup of mix, I'm going to do that 1 cup. What do I have to do? It's that ultimate rule of math, guys. What I do to one, I have to do to the other. So how did I go from 1/2 to 1? Now, you could say I just added another half, right? So if I'm going to add this piece plus itself to get 1, I would have to do what to 5? Add 5 plus 5. And what am I going to have to do to 7? Add 7 plus 7. Or you could look at this and think, hey, this is times 2. If I have 2 halves, or if I have a half and I do 2 of them, I now have a whole. So what's 5 times 2? 10. And what's 7 times 2? 14. Okay. So for this next mixture, I'm going to try to see if I can create the same color. So our first experiment, we reversed the ratios around, we didn't get the same color. Kind of knew that was going to happen. This time, we are trying to get the exact same color. So let's see how we do. Okay, I got them both mixed up. I used the equivalent ratios that we had kind of planned out here. So our first mix, we obviously mixed together, and then I just mixed up this one here. I counted out the 10 and the 14, and I mixed it in. And I'd say they're pretty close, guys. All right, so tell me what you think. All right, so here's our two. This was our first mix. This was half the cup with 5 drops red, 7 drops blue. This was our second mix with the full cup of pancake batter and 10 drops red, 7 drops blue. So, pretty close in color, don't you think? All right, so this is what we call equivalent ratios, in that we can take a small ratio and we can multiply it up to get another ratio. We can also do what's called simplifying ratios. If we had started with 1 cup of pancake mix and the 10 drops red and 14 drops blue, and we only wanted to make half of that, which sometimes what I do when I'm only making pancakes for myself, divide it down by 2 and you can get it from there. Okay, so when working with ratios, as long as you follow that ratio and follow the ultimate rule of math, what you do to one, you do to the other, you typically get the same results. So I appreciate you guys joining me here in the kitchen for this lesson on ratios. Hopefully you've learned something and it wasn't too boring, and not sure how long this video will be once I edit it out, but I'm going to go bake some pancakes. Not sure what I'm going to do with all these pancakes because there's only me to eat them. I don't think my cat likes pancakes very much. So I might be eating pancakes for the next couple days now. So hope you had fun. See you guys in the next lesson.